Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So it's raining. I'm going to make this video anyway. So I have four steps and points that are for the purpose of solving the problem of racism in America. Some people complain about racism against minorities. Some people complain about racism against whites, what have you. Some people talk about Asians in college. Well, let me tell you how you solve the problem. I do not believe in affirmative action in colleges. I do not think that DEI is a perfect idea. I do not think that critical race theory is always taught perfectly, or the idea of teaching people CRT in schools is the perfect solution. I do believe that leftists have ulterior motives. However, my solutions are more direct because the problem is very serious and very direct. I do believe that white supremacy is a huge problem. Depending on how you define it, it is the biggest problem in the world today. When it extends into things, say if you're religious, like, Satanism, when it extends into things like sexual control and so on and so forth, where and when it does, it clearly is the biggest problem on the planet today. It is the reason why people starve to death all over the world. 9 million people starve to death all over the world, and they're disproportionately people of color. If you were to go and look at the map and see where people starve to death the most, I'm sure you would see it's not a coincidence that they're disproportionately people of color. White people are not superior. Jews are not superior. LGBT people are not superior. Everyone on this planet basically knows that. In fact, we'll say 99% of people in America, for example, clearly know that white people are not naturally superior. Clearly know that. They know that for many reasons. One, people who are superior, they don't sabotage people. These days, everyone sees the sabotage like more clearly than ever. If you are superior, you do not play stupid about things. You would not have instituted the slave codes and the Jim Crow, and the redlining, the gerrymandering. You wouldn't have done these things because those are things that people who are not superior do to try to gain the upper hand. If you're superior to the other races, you already naturally have the upper hand, and you make the system fair, and you'll be happy with that. But that is not what happened here, is it? And everyone knows it. Mainstream history, that's not what happened. They have sabotaged people to try to gain the upper hand. Everyone knows historically, corporations, for example, are historically racist for the most part, and they do things like corporate espionage, financial terrorism, workplace bullying, and corporate sabotage. That's corporate sabotage. And there's corporate partnerships, corporate alliances, conglomerates and transnational corporations that sabotage on a large scale with their policies, their sentiments, their beliefs, and their behaviors as expressed through their policies and their other actions. And their actions in general, rather. So I have four points I'd like to make that would solve racism to a large degree. It wouldn't solve it completely. Such a thing can't be done. A lot of damage has been done. Whole tribes have been wiped out because of white racism. And as we look at the situation, we look at the law that a president had to pass in 1968 because of the redlining, because it was on record, that people were redlined. That law did not solve the problem. In fact, that same year, Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, was assassinated, was killed. That same year. That year was about 13 years before I was born. I was born in 81, that was 68. So you're telling me that the same racists in 68, weren't alive in 81 for the most part. A lot of them were, right? Their kids that they raised were alive in 81. Their grandkids are alive right now. And just like the Republican Party has been here for a long time, those racists and their social clubs have been here for a long time, and it's more than the Klan. There are hundreds of hate groups in America, registered and otherwise, known and otherwise, rather. And there's a spectrum of racism in America. And it affects the criminal justice system. And redlining occurs to this day. They found a new form and new forms of redlining. Once they passed a law that said you can't redline this way, they said, okay, we'll do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. A lot of racists graduate from Harvard and Alabama University and Yale and every school you could think of. Some of these people are educated, and a lot of them work for the government. And they know every dirty trick in the book, and every one of you knows damn well that they use them. And the evidence is in the economic disparity and the fact that they've proven definitively that they're not superior by sabotaging people of color in the first place. If you were Usain Bolt, for example, and you were to race, George Bush in a foot race, would you feel the need to sabotage him? Need I say more? So the first point is you need to restructure the school system in a way that people who have been sabotaged and their offspring, can excel in. Those who want to do the traditional way, they do it that way. Other people, they get less homework and less science stuff stuff they can learn on their own, less history, less math, just the essentials. The other stuff they can learn on their own, or they can have an optional, they have the option to take more math in school if they so wish. But depending on what field they intend to go in, they should have transferable job skills, as a result of their high school diplomas, and it should not be very hard to get those high school diplomas. So they would have to be out of their mind to drop out of high school, because the school would have restructured it in a way that makes it so it's easy to graduate, they're getting good grades, they have a very, very light homework load, at least 1/5, 1/5 or better, rather, of the current homework load. It's about what you focus on when you educate them and not learning excessive amounts of details. And we see this in my videos. All these people with their fancy PhDs and economics, what have you, they're scared to debate me about whether or not supply side economics is the ideal system for any nation. They are scared to death. And they have all kinds of illogical information that they've stacked over the years, but I focus on the core information and I trample them easily in a debate. And they're afraid to join the victims who have attempted to debate me and have lost miserably to their extreme shame. Point number 2. There would be a higher tax rate, or there should be a higher tax rate, for people who are from groups that were sabotaged less, and everyone else who has managed to be as financially successful as they are. Why? Because the system is based on old money. The system is based on generations of sabotaging bloodlines, with an emphasis on patriarchal lines. So when you and your friends got together to sabotage other Americans, a sabotage that has generational effects, mind you, when you got together to structure the system in a way that favors you, and even if you modified genes in the future so everyone's genes were exactly the same, you are the types of people to cheat everybody one way or another. So we have to account for that in the economic system for the purpose of social justice. Therefore, there needs to be a higher tax rate for the wealthy, because we must assume that it is extremely illogical not to know that they have gotten over and they have planned to get over. The evidence is overwhelming. Point number 3. We have to teach attractive females to not date the rich, because the number one reason, as far as I can tell, why they did this was to control reproduction. When people are eugenicists, they were first and foremost eugenicists to control reproduction and sexual behavior. Pussy, so to speak, has more value in America than money. That's why so many people get hookers and go to strip clubs and buy porn. So many people are addicted to sex. They go to the nightclub. They buy cars and chains to impress females. As they say, money makes the world go round and pussy makes the world go round. So we have to teach attractive females to despise being the type of slut that would betray all humanity by dating a rich dog. We have to put a special emphasis. Point number 4. We have to look out for their family members. Because again, they care about controlling women more than they can care about controlling money. So we have to look out for them planting family members among the poor. Because they're going to work the angles to get at the attractive female. Because they have taken such drastic measures to make sure that they control money and women, drastic measures must be taken to counteract these despicable acts of these ignoble dogs who come from generations of filth, of toxic slime, that have ruined the planet for everyone with no way back, and now people are just trying to make the best of it. Thank you.